Hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect. Earlier this week, the Supreme Court ruled that a lower court in Gujarat would now decide whether Narendra Modi should be investigated in a Gujarat's riot case. As both Narendra Modi's detractors and his supporters spin this as a political victory, we're talking about why Narendra Modi continues to be India's most contentious politician. Admire him or hate him, why does Narendra Modi continue to polarize opinions so completely? Mani, let me begin with you. 9 years after the Gujarat riots, do you think it's ironic that we're still asking if Narendra Modi should be investigated?
Well, I first like to say that I'm delighted with this result because apparently Narendra Modi has tweeted, "God is great," which is the exact translation of Allahu Akbar. So we have made Narendra Modi into a secularist. I think that's a considerable achievement. Whether 9 years on we should still be discussing whether he should be probed or not is, I think, a serious reflection on our justice system, because the fact of the matter is that he should have offered himself to be probed if his hands were not bloodstained. And the fact that he's been resorting to every legal device possible to avoid being investigated in a case where rioting in Gujarat, which started at the end of February, continued all the way through to June under his chief ministership and led in fact to his recommending the dissolution of the Gujarat State Assembly and going to the polls, shows that there is something unjust about our justice system. But nevertheless, even if the wheels of justice grind slowly, they do grind also surely. And I'm sure that at the end of this process, we will see that people like Narendra Modi, who in my eyes are undoubtedly responsible for the carnage that took place in Gujarat, meet their just deserts.
But the Supreme Court hasn't indicted him. In fact, it's not even going to be monitoring the case anymore. Is this a vindication for Modi's supporters?
You see, what I like about money is how economical sometimes he can be with the truth. The Gujarat riots were unquestionably a blot on India's democracy. But to suggest that there has been no attempt at investigation is conveniently overlooking reality. There is a Nanavati Commission which is investigating the whole role. The entire issue, which was before the Supreme Court, came about because some people filed a petition saying that they have to have an FIR registered against Narendra Modi. Now, had the Supreme Court said, yes, we should go ahead and allow such an FIR to be launched, it would have meant that Modi certainly would have had to resign. And if, in Mani's perception, the wheels of justice would have moved. But because the courts interpreted the law and did not go into politics, they came to a certain conclusion. The conclusion was after an exhaustive investigation done by a special investigative team appointed by the Supreme Court, again overseen by an amicus curiae, eminent lawyers, etc. In other words, every precaution was taken, every care was taken, not only to see that justice was done, but that justice was seen to be done, far more than any other person. The point is that we are discussing Narendra Modi. We normally don't often discuss a chief minister. We haven't discussed Ashok Gehlot, for example. We don't discuss Sheila Dikshit, except sometimes in a pejorative sense these days after the Commonwealth Games. But Narendra Modi is always there. The reason is very obvious. There is something in Narendra Modi which is far beyond that of the riots, which goes far beyond that of demonology, which scares people like Mani. And that is the efficiency of the state administration. That is because Gujarat was able to move beyond the riots of 2002, horrible as they were, and chalk out a most impressive record, probably the most impressive record. Now, I know Mani will say, well, what does GDP matter? He said that in St. Stephen's the last time we were there in the Walnut Lawns. Now, point is a sustained 10% growth, the most in India, including 10% average decennial growth in agriculture, which has not been reached by anybody. I would suggest that behind the targeting of Narendra Modi are two things. One, an attempt to keep an element of victimhood alive, and two, a genuine fear that this man, somewhere or the other, will emerge as an alternative.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.